Event planning can look glamorous from the outside. Beautiful venues, happy clients, and picture-perfect moments. But what you don't see is the chaos behind the scenes and the obstacle course of challenges that can derail everything you've planned. If we could go back to the start of our careers, we'd do a lot of things differently. In this episode, we're breaking down our biggest regrets, what we wish we knew sooner, and how you can avoid making the same mistakes we have. Let's get into it. All right. Before we get into it today, we have a really special new addition to Event Planner Confessions. Samantha Monroe is here, who is a senior account coordinator. And I am just so excited to have her on the podcast. And I want to throw you right into the deep end. I want to ask you a couple questions if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Like it.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
All right. My first question is, if there was a random thing that you know way too much about, I mean, embarrassing so. Like, it could be a party trick, but it's gotten too far. What would that be?
Okay. This one's going to be a little bit weird.
Okay.
But I grew up in a very weird family, and we are super into holistic health. So I have grown up with frequency therapy. We were super into the red light therapy before it was a huge, crazy fad that it is today. So I would say I know an embarrassing amount about all the things you can do about bettering your spiritual, mental, physical health.
All right.
I like
a good
that. That's we might take you up on learning a few of those things along the way here. So that's great.
I'll bring some things in for us.
Awesome.
Let's put some blue light blockers on.
Okay. And Sam's going to be joining us as a co-host from here on out. So we're really excited about that. And I have a question for you. If you were to be stuck in an elevator with any celebrity for 24 hours, who would make your wildest dreams come true?
Okay, well, who would I be stuck with for 24 hours in an elevator, confined spaces? Okay, have you guys seen Severance on Apple TV?
Yes.
Okay, it's so good. You have to watch it.
Wait, you haven't seen it yet?
No, I know.
Okay, we know what we're doing later tonight.
Okay, yeah, that's
putting
a must.
that on.
That's a must.
So he actually was one of the creative minds behind it, and I love the show, and I want to deep dive. I want to know everything about it. I want to pick his brain, give me all the information, and also Zoolander. Funniest movie I've ever seen.
Okay, I'm glad you as a Gen Z appreciate Zoolander, because I've tried to get other Gen Zs to get on board with the Zoolander life and how incredible it is. And they look at me like I have 5 heads. They've never heard of it. They don't get it. They don't understand it.
I think I know who we're talking about now. But go ahead, Sam.
I mean, really ridiculously good looking. How can you not love it? Well, Ben Stiller is who I would spend my time with in the elevator.
Well, even without seeing Severance, I know Ben Stiller would be a fun time.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good choice.
I like that. Okay. So I think I want to pivot a little, because we obviously have an interesting topic to get to. And I want to ask you a question that kind of relates to that. So if you could pinpoint your biggest, oh crap, I wish I didn't do that, this moment of kind of, why didn't I think of the other things that could have happened in events, what would you say that was?
Can I give 100? Like, gosh, I've been working for over a year and I have so many that I could say. Looking back on a lot of the events I've done, I would have to say I did an event recently, and it was one of the largest events I've gotten, which was great for me to just like further my growth. And it's a week before the event. The event is on a Saturday, and I get a call from the caterer. She says, "Hey, how are you? Just making sure the event's on Sunday, right?" No, it's on Saturday, and it's for 300 plus people, and it was like $150,000 plus for catering alone.
No.
So I was like, no, we need it on Saturday. And she's like, okay, well, it's good that I called you, because otherwise if it was one day later, we wouldn't have been able to help you.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, so that means that I was one day away from honestly quitting my job.
Yeah.
I would be out of here immediately
I
if
think
I
think we've all been there, though, where we've accidentally booked something on the wrong day. I had a group one time, this is a true confession moment, where they were all supposed to show up for a tour. It was a bicycle tour. So it's not like you can just take the tour no matter what. You need the actual bicycles to do the tour. And I had booked it on the wrong day. And I had to spin a little bit of a yarn of, oh, the bicycles had an issue and this is why we had to cancel. And I kind of did that whole thing. But I went home thinking, if I would have just double checked one extra thing, I probably would have been fine, but I messed it up, and I feel you. I feel that pain.
Look at the dates.
I will say almost every coordinator that we've had has had that moment. And whether it was the caterer or something else, it is part of like a coming of age of being a coordinator. And I had a coordinator recently do it where they booked a delivery of tables to the hotel venue on the wrong day, and the tables were there, they were just in the wrong ballroom on the wrong day. And it's just those like fine-tuned looking at the paperwork. And let me tell you, that was about a year ago. She has never made a mistake like that since.
Yeah.
So you live and you learn.
You live and you learn.
You learn once.
All right, so I want to go around and hear a little bit of stories from you guys about maybe something that you could hopefully go back in time, hit the reset button early on in your events career. I know you're obviously new to the events career, about a year in. So I'm going to start with you, Kara, because I'm sure you have a great story of going back in time. What would you do differently?
Well, I would say big picture, what I would do differently is I would take better notes. And I say that because 15 years of, hundreds of events every year. And I think I have a pretty good memory. Like, I'm pretty proud of my elephant-like memory. But the amount of times that people reach out to me and say, do you remember which event that was? If I had just written it down and put it in a place that people could all find the information, I would have saved myself so much time over the years. And I'm working on that. And I feel like it's something that is still a work in progress for me 15 years later. But, actually putting all the notes after the event, what worked, what didn't work, what did my client like, what was their favorite things about, the destination, or all of the little kind of things that are all stored up here in my brain. I wish that I put into a organized place that I could refer back to, because my clients, and as yours too, they circle back around, and we work with them over and over again in different capacities. And I have to continuously say, oh my gosh, what was that red wine they really liked? Or what was that vendor that, they couldn't stop raving about how great the entertainment was from? Or, because the time has passed and my memory continues to not get as strong as it once was. So I would say that would be my one kind of big thing. And with that, I also would say, join every loyalty program ever, because you will never know when it will work out for you. Because some people say, oh, pick one airline or one hotel and be loyal to it. In what we do, we have such fabulous resources of so many hotels. Join every loyalty program from every hotel, every airline. You will end up with free trips throughout your life by doing that when you start on day one.
See, I wish I would have known that earlier, because I'm just now getting into the rewards game where I think about it every time I fly an airline. I'm like, oh, I should add this. I should set up my points. I should get this set up, but I never do. So I wish I would have learned that lesson learned earlier too.
Someone told me to do that when I was pretty early in my career, and I have really reaped the benefits of it. So Sam, how about you? I mean, a year in, there's definitely some things from a year ago to now that you can reflect on.
Oh yeah. I mean, a ton. I feel like the major one is one that I feel like across the board, a lot of newcomers into especially the events world do, is so eager. Like, I was so eager. I wanted to prove myself. I felt like I was in a room full of people that had so much experience, and I wanted to be, a supportive team member, and I wanted them to be relying on me, and I could be accountable. And that's when mistakes happen though, when you're so frantic and when you're trying so hard, you're not acting from a place of trust and confidence. And I think that's huge. And especially with what we do, is we need to act from a place of, we rely on ourselves and we know our decision is going to be, the best for the event moving forward. So I think just slow down. Yeah. It doesn't always need to be such a rush, especially with what we do. I mean, you guys, we all get it. Like, we are constantly moving and going. It's okay to take the moment, take the breath. That's when you can save yourself making mistakes and those small mishaps.
Love that.
How about you, Ashley? Give us a...
give us the lowdown.
I'm going to say the opposite is not be a know-it-all, because I really started off in my events career, although I wanted to absorb everything that people wanted to teach me. I also had this kind of idea that I know everything that I'm doing. I don't need all the help that I need. And I learned really quickly that you do need all the help you can get, and to really kind of take your ego out of it and realize that although you can feel really confident about one aspect of event planning, there's something else that you might not feel as confident about. As you know, we're supposed to be experts of so many things, especially in the destination management world. You have to know transportation and events and catering and activations and every venue in the destination, and it's a lot. So that was my biggest thing, is once I kind of, and it took took like one time of being a know-it-all in a room of real know-it-alls to realize that, you know, it would only serve me better if I just kind of, you know, zipped my lip and learned from the best. So that's my advice. Is don't be too cocky, because events will take you down a peg or two.
Yeah, you will get humbled.
This episode is brought to you by CSI DMC. With deep local expertise in markets across the country and around the world, we know the hidden gems, the venues with pull, and the experiences that elevate a corporate event from good to unforgettable. Ready to take your next event beyond the basics? Head over to csi-dmc.com and let's start planning.
Early in your event planning career, you're bound to face situations that test your instincts, your problem-solving skills, and sometimes your patience. In this next segment, we're throwing out real-life scenarios that could happen to any planner just starting out. The twist? We'll share how we would have handled it back then and how we'd handle it now with the experience we have today. Here we go. All right, I'm going to kick us off with our first scenario. It's your first major corporate conference, and you spent weeks coordinating with vendors. Everything seems set until you get a frantic call an hour before doors open from your on-site event lead. The band was supposed to be there to open the event. They obviously were at sound check. Everything went great. The lights are ready. The stage is set for an electrifying entrance, and there's no performers. They're nowhere to be found. The stage is empty, and you are now sitting there in silence, ready to kick off what is supposed to be an exceptional opening. What do you do? Kara?
I'll start. I think what I would have done at the beginning of my career is gone into total panic mode, right? I would have probably called a manager of mine that was nowhere near the event and had no idea what was going on and wasted 10 minutes of time talking them through what was going on without actually getting anything accomplished. And then I probably would have called somebody at the, you know, on the paperwork for the band and, you know, gone down the rabbit hole of, you know, where are they, what's going on. And I would have showed that on my face to the client too, which would have been the real problem, right? Now I think I would approach it very differently because they were here once for the sound check. They could not be that far, right?
Where did they go?
Not only that, but the reality is that bands are always a little lackadaisical at their own way, and they tend to kind of run at their own speed and in a good way usually, but they're performers, and so they show up when they need to. So I would have kept my client to be cool, calm, and collected, and I would text all of the resources that I built over the last many years to say, hey, where are you guys? Are you just eating pizza in the green room, or did you go for a walk outside, or, you know, what's going on? And then I also probably would have said, okay, what's plan B? Can we pipe in music? Can we make something else happen as a backup if we need to in the next 45 minutes at that point? So that's how I'd approach it. But again, you lead with a lot more confidence after you've been kind of through a lot more over the years. How about you, Sam?
I mean, on the first one is, yes, right there with you. I would be panicking all the way, calling anyone that would be able to help, and they wouldn't be able to help because they wouldn't know what's going on. So yeah, I'm in the same boat there. Now, some part of me still says that I'm still in that boat, and I'm still learning how to, you know, not be a chicken with its head cut off sometimes. And I think, you know, it's okay to be honest about that. Is, you know, sometimes I'm not going to be there yet, but I'm working on it. And I think from now, I would still call resources, call the event manager on site and ask what I can do. And then after, as well as what you said, but having that network build up and having more people that you can lean on and rely on and go to is what I would do. You know, what is our plan B? Can we pipe in the music? Is there a vendor that we know nearby that can get a band over there like that? And that's fine. We'll pay a little bit extra because
that's a good point. Like having something on deck that you could, you know, mobilize in that moment.
Right. Maybe there's a band playing the lobby for like a little background music. We could shift them upstairs.
Yeah, get a piano up there. All right, I'll go next. It's the final week before your first solo run event, a company-wide leadership retreat in San Diego. You've negotiated contracts, booked entertainment, sent final confirmations to all the vendors, and secured the perfect off-site venue for the closing evening. Then, the venue for the final program night sends you an urgent message. They have to close effective immediately due to an electrical issue. They can no longer host your group. Your client has promised her stakeholders in this exact venue from the beginning of the planning stages. Your client had you contract it days after the initial site visit. You have just a few days to adjust and also have to break the news to your client. How do you handle the sudden shortfall without compromising the experience? You guys
I've been there. I've lived it. I have to tell you, I've lived it. So years ago, we had the government shutdown, similar type scenario, right? Where the government building we were using just closed just a couple of days before the event. And we had about 180 actually meeting planners attending a meeting. So the stakes are high. And this was probably 5 years into my career. It was years ago when the shutdowns were happening. And, panic sets in, of course, immediately. And you've made, the whole plan around this particular venue being the moment of impact on the whole 3-day meeting, right? And we immediately called the venue and said, what are your sister properties? What other properties does the in-house caterer already work in that might have a relationship with? Because we have to use the same caterer. The food was ordered, right? We've already got, everything in place. So we've got the rentals, the lighting, the vendors, galore. And so, back then, the first call was to the caterer because I felt that they were the ones holding the biggest piece to the pie. And if we could make them work somewhere else, the rest would start to fall into place. And then approaching the client, having that really tough conversation after was definitely a lesson learned moment for me, being earlier in my career, to say, we're not just coming at you with bad news, we're coming at you with a solution to the bad news so that they could wrap their heads around it from a place of, okay, we're solving the problem. We're not just like freaking out that we have a problem. So I think that from the standpoint of having been there, it's possible that this could happen. It has happened. And I think it's all about being solution oriented versus just going into total chaos mode. And of course, everything we published had said that venue on it, and every, expectation was there. But it turned out we ended up at a venue that nobody had been to before. And, the other one was a little more famous. And a lot of people were like, oh, I'd already been there. I'd done a program there. I'd, visited the last time I was in that city. And we got a lot more out of it because it was a newer venue. It was a little more interesting. And a lot of people said, wow, I would have never thought to go there. And now I got to. So it had a good happy ending. But how about you, Ashley?
Yeah, I think honestly and I think you made a good point. I think what I would have done earlier in my career, immediately ran to my client and been like, we have a problem. Because I think when you're in that first kind of beginning stages of your career, you kind of look to your client as also an expert too, when we're supposed to be really the experts. So that's what I would have done many, many years ago. I think a little bit older me, a little bit more seasoned me, definitely would have come up with that plan B or plan C, and then really had that fully fleshed out plan to present out to the client and spin it in a way that's like, hey, this is a bummer, but this is what we're going to do to make it, great. And these are some of the things that we've already considered or thought about to make sure that it's seamless. So yeah, I think previous me would have just, panicked and wanted to tell everyone in the world that could listen that we have this huge problem and we don't know how to fix it.
Okay, last one, my turn. You've spent weeks preparing a detailed run of show for a massive gala that includes timed courses, pop-up performances, and several high-level speakers giving remarks that require service pauses and lighting changes. The timeline is tight, and you have it down to a science to ensure all the things happen at the right time. The CEO has a 10-minute slot to give remarks and introduce one of the high-profile speakers, who has a limited window to appear before hopping on a plane and heading to another engagement. But when they take the stage, they go completely rogue, telling long-winded personal stories, going off on tangents, and eating up all the time. Your client and team are all texting you, asking what you're going to do to get things back on track, all while your earpiece is chirping with questions from the production team. What's the recourse here? Do you intervene? How do you fix this without stepping on the CEO's toes?
Oof. All right. I have to thread a little story into this. So we had a client, and this was early on in my career, and the CEO was known for some antics on the stage. And what those antics really amounted to is he was a clarinet player, and he liked to bring his clarinet out. I'm not even joking. Bring his clarinet out on stage and perform and try to tie whatever he was performing to back to the remarks that he was making. It was very musical theater-esque, if you would say. Mm-hmm. Very unique. What would happen, though, is we would tell him, hey, this is not the direction we want you to go. It didn't matter. The clarinet always came out. So I learned early on in my career to plan ahead for those kinds of things. You always build in extra time, right? You're never going to be exactly, even if you have a tight, timetable, you're always giving yourself some wiggle room and some opportunity to, if someone runs over, if someone's running late, if the course doesn't drop at the right time. So I think you have those contingencies built into your run of show. And I think also just hiring an exceptional production company that can pivot with those changes is key. So really vetting out that production company and making sure they understand all of those nuances that you're getting either from your stakeholders or from your own knowledge makes things so much different. And then you kind of have to just roll with the punches a little bit. It's one of those things that you learn about and you're like, okay, I guess we're having clarinet performance in the middle of the dessert course, and that's what we're going to deal with. So I think early on in my career, I learned this lesson pretty solidly, that you just kind of roll with things and you plan ahead and you build in time. And that's always served me really well. So
I like that. You had your own Squidward moment. I feel like that he was having a Squidward moment there with his clarinet, and
he actually kind of looked like Squidward. I'm not gonna lie. If I really thought about it, if I'm really picturing him right now, Squidward is popping into my head. So what about you? What would you?
That's so funny. I think early on in my career, I was very much a people pleaser. I would kind of just let the CEO roll with it. If things were messed up, I would be on the back end, just apologizing profusely. I'm sorry. I'll fix it. I'll do my best. And I think, I've learned that the apologies on the back end aren't saving you the trouble on the front end. Mm-hmm. So taking the initiative and, talking with the CEO and sharing, this is a mutual objective. This isn't me coming at you or saying that your speech is terrible. I'm saying, we both agreed on one objective. Let's do our best to meet it together. And then from that, I think your point too, I learned this now from you, is having a great production team, vetting your production team, having them understand, all those nuances. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
I just learned something new today.
Yeah, and I think one key takeaway too, if I can make one point, always identify who the handler is going to be for your CEOs.
Absolutely.
You have to find that person and hope that they are buying in on everything that you're putting down and they're ready to come in and be bad cop if they need to be.
Absolutely. And also always have a rehearsal.
Yes.
Have it whenever it works for them, but have that rehearsal so you hopefully don't have as many surprises when the final happens.
Then no clarinet performances. Some event planning stories are so insane they have to be fake, right? Or are they? Each of us is about to read a wild event planner confession, and the others have to guess. Did this actually happen, or is it total fiction? Then we'll break down how we'd handle the situation if it happened to us. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm going to kick us off with our first confession. And you guys are going to tell me if you think that's a real confession that we got a call in for, or if it's a fake confession. So, all right. A client wanted an ultra-sustainable nature immerse retreat for their exec team, so he booked a gorgeous off-the-grid eco lodge in the mountains. Everything was perfectly planned until day one, when a raccoon managed to sneak into the lodge's open-air kitchen during dinner service. One guest freaked out and threw his plate at it, which sent the raccoon flying into the dining area, where it launched itself onto the CFO's chair. Chaos erupted. Some people ran. Some tried to trap it. One guy decided to film the whole thing for LinkedIn content. The final disaster, the client had been live streaming the dinner to their employees back home, so thousands of people watched the whole ordeal unfold.
Wow.
I wish I was the 1,000. I want to see that.
Real or fake? I feel like it is close to being real, but it just got a little bit pushy with the live stream and the
one too many things happening.
You took it just a step or two too far. I will say I did have a program last week where we had some real live rats come on through, not a fake story, but it wasn't to the extent of all of those levels of things that happened with that raccoon. So I'm gonna go fake.
You're gonna go fake. What do you think?
This is a hard one because I do agree with you that it got so crazy at the end, but at the same time, I can see this kind of crazy absolutely breaking out, especially with technology. I mean, everything is being recorded and live streamed. I'm going to go real.
You're going to go real. Okay, I got a 50-50 split here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with Kara. Kara got it right. It's definitely fake.
I mean, the raccoon might have been there, but now all the other things.
The raccoon, there's too much happening with the raccoon.
I mean, if I was there in that moment, that's a tough one to manage, right? Because of all the live streaming and all the video recording and all the posting to LinkedIn or whatever people are trying to do these days. I think the immediate action would be to shut off some of those recordings because the first thing you just don't want it to go viral so quickly. It's not what you want to be viral for that day, right? So I would try to work on having one person focus on the media element of it and having a second person focus on getting that raccoon out of that space.
Okay. What about you?
I'm going to switch and say first I'd say let's call animal control. Let's get
very pragmatic approach.
Let's get the raccoon dealt with. Let's get that problem.
Who knows how long they would take though? I don't know.
You're right. So I guess someone else has to deal with the raccoon. But oh man, I feel like besides animal control, control the media. I guess try and get guests out of the vicinity too where the raccoon is going rampant. You gotta do.
I don't know.
Control.
I'd take a pivot. I would make the raccoon the new mascot for the entire conference. I would make memes about it. I would make it hilarious. It's already live streamed and out there. Let's just lean into the skid and ride out the raccoon situation.
Creative marketing. All right, I'll go next. So, real or fake? Everything was running smoothly at our annual customer event until the keynote. The CEO was set to take the stage when, out of nowhere, a man in a nearly identical suit walked up, grabbed the mic, and started speaking. At first, we thought he was part of the act until he started slurring his words and thanking the wrong company. Security hesitated because he looked the part, and by the time we got him off the stage, he'd already rambled for 2 full minutes. Turns out he was a VP from a different conference happening next door who had one too many cocktails at their networking hour and genuinely thought it was his turn to speak. The worst part? The actual CEO thought it was hilarious and kept joking that he should have let him finish.
Well, I feel like that really happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna go real on that one too.
I'm gonna go real with that one too because I'll tell you, there's party crashers at these conferences. They're a real thing. They don't usually make it on stage, but a few too many cocktails, anything's possible. I believe it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go real. I'm gonna go real on that one.
All right. Well, with much love, I hate to say it. It's fake.
That's fake?
It is fake.
Well, it feels real.
Fake news.
That's
fake
not.
News.
All right. Well, I mean, I kind of like that the CEO was loving it. I think if I were in that situation, I would be thrilled that the CEO found it hilarious because I would be wiping my brow. One last thing I have to stress about is the CEO isn't freaking out about someone going up on stage.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was real too.
Yeah.
Because normal CEOs do not go over things like that very easily. So. I'll give it a go.
Okay.
I have a story. You know the saying, money is no object until it is? Well, buckle up because this yacht launch was the epitome of high expectations, last-minute pivots, and logistical gymnastics. Picture this, a luxury yacht, a VIP media guest list, and an owner who wanted nothing but the best. Originally, the plan was simple. Host a lavish launch with a seamless experience. The owner flew in, deciding last minute that a hotel stay wasn't up to par. Instead, a modern waterfront mansion with deep water access was needed immediately. No pressure, right? We scoured the market and found the perfect spot until budgets reared their ugly head, and in the end, the owner stayed at the hotel. But the real challenge was getting our media guests to and from this high-end experience. The yacht couldn't fit everyone at once, so we devised a split itinerary. One group would start on the yacht, cruise to the mansion, then return by seaplane. The other begin the scenic flight and at the mansion and sail back in style. A dream setup until reality set in. The marina at the hotel, a no-go for seaplanes, thanks to a stubborn drawbridge. Enter Plan B, a last-minute operation involving tenor boats shuttling guests to a nearby flatwater lake where they'd transfer to seaplanes. Risk assessments, emergency contingency plans, and countless "we need answers now" calls later, it was technically possible. Then came the final twist. Budget slashed, logistics reimagined. The seaplanes stayed in play, but not quite as originally envisioned. And just like that, the grand yacht launch went from high-stakes puzzle to a masterclass in adaptability. Lesson learned in luxury events, expect the unexpected and always have a plan C.
Ooh,
wow.
I think that's...
If this is real, snaps to whoever.
I kind of feel like I have to say this is real just because I feel terrible for what this person is going through. Imagine all of those pivots, all of those things, all the contingency
and
plans.
all happened within a few days.
A few days. I mean, I don't understand how.
This person's brain must be mush right now. I mean, my brain would be mush a year after this happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna go real.
I'm gonna agree.
This is real.
Yeah.
This is a real story.
That sounds way too painful not to be real.
I mean,
my gosh.
boats to seaplanes to yachts to mansions and staying at a hotel all in the same 3-day plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Unbelievable, right?
lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Like, what is this? That is terrible.
Right? I know. But hey, we appreciate the confessions being sent in.
All right.
And we want to keep them coming.
Okay.
What would you have done, or what would you do? I
think honestly, if I was in that situation, my head would be on such a swivel from all the changes. At that point, it would be like, I wouldn't even blink. I wouldn't even bat an eye. What's the next thing that's going to happen? Are they going to say that, we can't even go to the mansion because the mansion's sinking, or the hotel is, is no longer. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised. I think at that point I would have been just so in the weeds of like, let's just figure this out, no matter how we can figure it out and make it happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think if they continue to bring up budget, I would say then you've got to stop asking.
Yeah.
No more ask.
I would say
come with a cost.
the budget was blown last seaplane ago. So, we're not making any difference at this point.
Yeah.
If you've been loving this episode, I have a favor to ask. We would love for you to leave a quick rating for the show on Spotify. Just head over to Spotify and search Event Planner Confessions. Tap the 3 horizontal dots, then rate the show. It'll take you less than 30 seconds, and it'll help us reach more incredible event planners like you. All right, let's get back to the show.
To wrap up this episode, we're each revealing one lesson that changed the way we approach event planning. The kind of insight that, looking back, we wish we'd learned sooner. These are the moments that shaped our careers. Let's see if they'll change yours too. Okay, so if I could think of a lesson that I wish I would have learned sooner in my career, the one that really sticks out to me to kind of close this all is union labor. Always think about it if you're in a hotel. What are going to be the restrictions around what you can do, what your team there on site can do? You're going to encounter it. So always make the ask of, are we dealing with union labor, and what is that going to look like when I'm planning my event, and how do I need to account for it? Because we've all shown up at that ballroom thinking that our entire conference staff is going to throw those linens for us, and then realizing no one's going to touch those linens and you need staff for it.
Or they do touch the linens and then
they get charged for it. Yep.
That you didn't plan for, right?
Yep. So you have to learn that lesson the hard way, and I've definitely done it both ways. So that would be one that I would say.
Absolutely. Sure. I've been there too, for sure. I would say my most valuable lesson is, we were all raised to say the client's always right and say yes. But the client isn't always right. And I'm sorry, that may come across as not so wonderful. But the reality is that, sometimes we have to push back a little bit, or else we're not going to meet expectations appropriately. So, I need this information by tomorrow. Well, it's not going to be the information you want if you need it by tomorrow. But if you give me until the end of the week, we can actually put together something that makes sense for you. So pushing back a little bit in a polite way, in a way that explains the why, is okay. And you don't always have to just say yes to everything.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I love that you just said the why, because that touches on mine. Is I think one of the biggest things I've learned is, really understanding why the client needs us, why they're coming to the specific destination that we're helping them with, what can we do to help? And, if they want a videographer, photographer, why they need it. Okay, what are you using this video for? What are you using the photography for? Do you need us to make sure your branding's in there? Do you need specific shots that we need to make sure we're including in everything? So I think really understanding the objective and the detail behind the objective has been huge in my career.
There's one thing that can make or break your entire career in event planning before the event even happens. One bad contract, one tiny overlooked clause, and suddenly you're on the hook for thousands. Your reputation is shot, and your client, they're walking away scot-free. Next week, we're exposing the contract mistakes that have ruined events, bankrupted planners, and turned dream clients into legal nightmares. And more importantly, we're showing you exactly how to protect yourself before it's too late. If you think your contracts are airtight, think again. You don't want to miss this one.
Remember, every detail counts. Every moment matters. And every event is a chance to create a memorable experience. Until next time.